We're live! Yay! Hello. Hello. How are you two doing?
Good?
Yeah, really good. Really good.
Really good.
Considering that Paula only reminded me I was doing this 20 minutes ago. Yeah, really good.
Nice. Have you ever done a live on YouTube before?
Only reminded me I was doing this 20 minutes ago.
Oh,
yeah, really good.
That's my fault.
Oh.
Yeah, she did a live with me when we did S. Completely brain farted that we'd already had the StreamYard talk and everything beforehand because obviously we'd done it.
Okay, good. Then it was an easy setup and everything.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I'm going to quickly do a Instagram thing. Maybe people will come join us while I'm doing this. But I just want to do a quick thing. Whatever it's called. Boomerang, that's the word.
All right. So Cassie said, we knew that we were going to be doing this for the best book club anyway, because it won the title, the genre that it was in. Words.
Yes.
They will happen. So I said to Cassie, I was like, well, the paperback doesn't come out for me until, was it April? So she was like, oh yeah, well, we'll put it off until April. Then I bought it, and then I was moving around my shelves and things, and then I realised I'd already bought the hardcover.
I love it. You need more than one copy of this book in particular.
Yeah, but if it's going to be a massive series like Throne of Glass, I don't want to you have to get the paperback and the hardcover, because they already get publishers and authors already get way too much money out of me.
I see. You don't need more.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So this was the fantasy pick for the Goodreads 2020 awards, which is why we read this in April. And I kind of want to do the non-spoiler section for this book, and then do the best books May pick, and then go into spoilers. Does that work for you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I know that's not how we did it the last few months, but we're gonna do it that way. Mm-hmm. So fantasy, I think, going into my star rating, so this was a reread for me, and I actually haven't finished my reread. I'm only 2/3 of the way in, but I read it when it came out, and I loved it the first time around. It was a 5-star read for me then. I think this is Sarah J Maas's best book, and I'm a huge fan of her. Yeah, I love it. This time around, I was annotating and tabbing and everything, which is not very usual for me. I notice that when I'm rereading a favorite book, I tend to not want to pick it up because I want to just love the part I'm at. I just want to sit with that part. So then I'm okay, I'm not going to pick it up. So that's what I was doing. What did you think of it?
Well, I think I gave it a 4 out of 5. I did enjoy it, and I wouldn't say it's her best book. I think it's definitely, you can tell it's a Sarah J Maas book. I mean, even if a name wasn't on the front of it, you could tell that it's a Sarah J Maas book. Sure. But it felt like there were definite plot points that she's hit in books previous.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of felt quite predictable to me, because I was like, okay, and this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And this is going to happen. So I spent quite a lot of the book kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop, kind of. Mm-hmm. It's like when you go into a book and you wait for the line, and I let out the breath I didn't know I was holding. It's like every time you see that line, there it is.
Yeah, I see. Yeah. Definitely. I can see that. What about you, Caiti? Have you read Sarah J Maas before?
No, so this is my first Sarah J Maas book, and I'm going to score it at a 3 because I know, I'm so sorry, because I know that you two really like her as an author, and I don't take away from the story was really good. It just took me a really long time to get into it because I don't think she's an amazing writer, which is probably sacrilege. But
no, there's a lot of complaints about that on the internet.
Okay, all right. So I started reading another one of hers, and I realized that actually either it's her writing process or the editing process, something's falling down for her, because she says things occasionally that don't make sense, or she repeats things that make it really obvious what's going to happen. Like, it's not because you've read the book before, it's predictable.
Okay.
Like, I wrote some notes in chapter 46 and I was like, I predict that and I hit every single one.
Okay. All right.
And I was like, but that didn't take away overall from it being a very, very enjoyable book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Even if I cringed a little bit, like I love a smutty book, but some of the bits in it, I was like, oh, dude, really?
And they don't ever actually have intercourse.
Yeah.
The whole time. This book is pages. It never happens.
Compared to some other Sarah J Maas books, this is definitely light on the fey loving.
It's interesting because I feel like this book is one of her dirtiest, but it's all thoughts.
Psychological.
Like,
yeah, they're all talking about what they wish they could do to each other, but there is sex in the book because she has sex in the start with other people and stuff.
Yeah, but it's not. It's kind of like, I hooked up with this guy. I did this.
Yeah,
like,
necessarily explicit. The same
no,
way.
and
exactly.
To be fair, if you think about it, just gonna alienate Kate for a second. But to be fair, in the Throne of Glass book, they don't actually. It doesn't start off, so it is kind of all lingering looks and touching of thighs and oh, I saw some ankles, that kind of thing.
There's an awful lot of touching of thighs, and I was like, for God's sake, you're 17, like you sat next to him, chill out, mate. Like, if every time I touch thighs with my other half I was like, ooh, we'd never get anything done. Like,
yeah.
Oh man, I love it. I'm not complaining about it, but I loved that. I loved it so much. Yeah. So interesting, because I also think that Sarah J Maas has a very particular writing style that's not necessarily beloved by a lot of people. I think it is very predictable. And it's something about, like, that's exactly what I want when I go into a Sarah J Maas book. So it's like it does hit those things. But that's kind of like what, for me, I want when I go read Sarah J Maas. Like, I don't know how to explain what I mean.
I get it. For me, because it's like, sometimes I want a high fantasy novel and I want to be completely immersed in that world, like Brandon Sanderson or Patrick Rothfuss's Name of the Wind. It's like, it's a high fantasy. You are there, you are in it. And even though Sarah J Maas is kind of smutty at times, it feels like she's high fantasy light.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean?
This book in particular is, I feel like it's even less high fantasy because of the way she set it in, like, I mean, essentially a New York City. Like, you have cell phones and you have all of those normal things that we have. With the additional, like, different races of beings, but like if you took all of that away and just made it like different ethnicities, it would be a very similar book. I don't think
so. Fantasy, urban fantasy, light.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there is magic, obviously, but like realistically, this is a murder mystery. You could have easily read this book without magic in it, and you still have the same plot overall. So it was a really interesting take because she's never done anything like that. And I think that was also part of why I loved this book so much, especially the first time around, because even though there is still that clear Sarah J Maas writing style, which, yes, can be very predictable, it also was something she hadn't done before. So then it was like, oh my gosh, look at you go. Like, you like, I'm just like cheering her on the sideline.
10 points to Gryffindor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I did like some of those points to it where it was like could be set in our world. That was quite nice. Like I really got on with some of those things. And I'm not saying it was terrible by any manner of means. I mean, I've bought 4 more books by her, so it can't be that bad. So
yeah, she's there messaging me. She's like, which is this? Is this a whole series? Is it done? Which one's better, do you think?
which book should I buy? So so I'm definitely there, but then I've started reading another one of her books and I'm like, oh no. It's so hard to get into because it's getting past that. I don't really like how she writes, but I really like the story that she's telling, and I really like the characters that she brings to it. But it's exactly the same, I think, as Stephen King. And we've had many conversations, me and Paula, about Stephen King because I love his work. I don't think he's a particularly talented writer, but I think his stories are amazing. Because he again is quite formulaic. A lot of his books are very similar in the way that they work, and it's very simple language, but maybe that's why he is really good, because he's very readable. You fly through a story, you kind of know what's going to come, and it is what it is. And I think this was the same kind of thing. Sometimes you read for the writing, sometimes you read for the story. So I thought it was a really good story and I really liked it.
That's a really interesting take too, because I feel like I don't often have an easy time separating those two things, the story from the actual writing style. Sometimes the writing style adds something to it for me, but I usually find that if I don't vibe with the writing style, I'm not reading the book. Like I will put it down. So it's really interesting that you can separate those two things, because you can still enjoy something without enjoying that part of it. I like that. That's cool.
Yeah. I did have to download the audiobook to get me into the story, but then I was finding that when I couldn't listen, I was picking up the book to read it. So yeah.
I have a point to make on the actual audiobook, because I ended up getting that as well. So 3 times I've bought this book. 3.
I'm going to mute myself, but I'm going to listen. I'm just going to close the door. Matt is, because he's gaming and screaming. So I'm going to mute, but keep talking. I can hear you.
Okay. And with the audiobook, it's the same narrator that she uses in the Throne of Glass series. I don't know if it's the same one that she uses in A Court of Thorns and Roses series, but it was just that was kind of jarring, because it was the same. It's the same author and the same narrator, but completely different story. So I was like,
I think the same narrator does all of her audiobooks.
Oh, okay. I don't know if she did the ACOTAR series.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure ACOTAR and Throne of Glass are the same. I like that narrator a lot. I can't remember who it is, but I liked it. I think I listened to ACOTAR, and then I've listened to almost all of Throne of Glass. And I like the way that she does it. So she did Crescent City too then?
Yeah.
Wow. I like when you do that, because it feels like the same way as like, oh, I'm picking up a Sarah J Maas book. I'm like, it adds that like.
It was kind of off-putting to me, because I was like,
weird. Yeah.
You're like Selena's voice or whatever. It was just like, no, I don't like it.
Yeah. Who was your favorite and least favorite character without spoilers? And then we're gonna go into spoilers.
We'll let you go, Cassie, because
you sprung this on us, so you can start.
Okay, my favorite character is Juniper, because she's the dancer.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I love her so much. I feel like she is a nice voice of reason. Actually, now that I'm saying this, I also really like, I don't know how to say her name, but like Leheba, whatever, the fire sprite that's in the I think maybe as I'm saying it, she's actually
she's my favorite.
Yeah, they both are favorites for different reasons. Juniper, I feel like, is a wonderful kind of like mirror for Bryce, of like realizing that some of the things she's mad at everyone else is a little bit needs to be like seen on the inside, and Juniper kind of puts that mirror up to her a little bit in a few different places. in regards to things that I don't want to get into in the non-spoiler section. And then Lehaba, I don't know how to say her name, but I really love her. She was just hilarious. She was a beautiful comic relief. So nice. Least favorite is Sabine.
Yeah.
The general.
It kind of has to be, doesn't it?
Yeah, like, of course it's Sabine. She's such a terrible person. She's just terrible. Like, it really, I think this reread made it even worse because I know that I've talked about this in general, and like I'm trying to get pregnant. We're working on that. And so to have a mom like hate her daughter so much from jealousy, just like I couldn't this time around. I was so angry with her, even on a deeper level than the first time around when it was just like, oh wow, you're a bitch. But now you're a bitch who hates your own daughter. What are you doing? Hate it. Okay, what about you guys?
Okay, I think my favorite character was probably Hunt or Rune, mostly because I would date either of them in a heartbeat. Yeah, I mean, I came to the story not expecting it to be what it was, but when I realized what it was, I was like, I might as well lean into them being hot guys. Like, yeah. I'm okay with that. Yeah. And probably my least favorite is probably Bryce.
Oh, tell me more.
Because she's just so self-obsessed. Not self-obsessed, that's not the right word, but like so self-interested that she's forgotten that there are other people who are going through the same thing, but like she's feeling it the worst, and I just felt a bit like, shut up. Like, if you just shut up, like, your life would go a lot better. Just listen to people. Shut up. Brat. She's a brat, and I maybe because she's too much like I am in real life. Like, and I don't need that mirror holding up to me right now. Thank you.
That's understandable. What about you, Paula?
The fire spirit is my favorite, just because she's just cute, and I wanted more from her.
And she was spicy as well. I liked her. She was like, good thing.
When it was like talking about like getting freedom and things, I was like, we need you out of that place. And I was looking through my notes trying to get the name of the person that I really hate. Who was it that took over Hunt's ownership?
Micah?
No, the female.
I mean, it starts with an S, not Shamar.
Yes, it does. Like Sandriel or something like that?
Sandriel, yeah. Sandriel, yes. Her. Hate her.
Yeah, she's also terrible. And I'm really curious to see, because this is a series, I'm curious to see if Pollux will have more to do with villainy in the future, because you've set him up as this really awful person, and we didn't get a whole lot of, like, I mean, a little bit, but like mostly just the history. And like, ooh, I'm nervous. Are you gonna be careful in the future? Like, are we gonna have to watch you? I don't want to. Pretty good. Okay, let's go into spoilers. So much to say. Kirsten just commented that Bryce was my favorite, and also Lehaba. I hated everyone who bullied Bryce so much because they're the everyday villains. We all know. Yeah. Okay. So this is a beautiful, smooth transition, because I want to talk about some of the like overarching, not just themes, but like the outward stuff going on, and then we'll get more into like the actual plot of the murder mystery and stuff. But how did you guys like stuff like the everyday villains that Kirsten brought up, and like the overall ambiance of Crescent City, Lunatheon, whatever, Lunatheon? I don't know how to say it.
Well, at the beginning, it took me a while to get into it, because it felt obviously right at the very beginning. It was like extreme info dump of like, you know, these are the houses, these are the and then you go from that to finally getting into the story, and then you start to feel for these characters, you start to get used to these characters, and then boom.
I got to watch Paula get there.
Yeah, we were doing live reading sprints, and it was like
It's so wonderful. I was asking, like, Paula, how are you doing? And she was like, I'm good. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah.
You've not got there yet, then. Okay. But yeah, it felt weird for the kind of police kind of setup. And I felt like we needed kind of more of that. Okay, yeah. I would have preferred that. I think I would have preferred more of a story about the actual uprising and war. But yeah,
that is interesting. I feel like this first book, she did do a lot of info dumping for your history of how we got to today. I don't tend to have an issue with that, like in general, not just Sarah J Maas, but like that writing style of just giving you a lot. Doesn't bother me, but I know it's definitely like an author's choice to do that. Everyone's cup of tea. Yeah, it is a lot to learn, and I used a particular color for, I should have separated history information to the murder mystery information. And just on starting the book, I forgot how much of both you get. So I just used one color for any information. And like so much green. There's so
I think we're talking about like the everyday kind of bullies that we see. It really reflected well on that because, you know, Bryce is a half-breed and she's pretty much shunned by everyone, and that I think we see that a lot in society with different groups of people being shunned by everyone. And I think that was really good, and like the little snide things that were happening all the way along, like every time she tried to climb out of the shit and then she just got dragged back into it, and that was really, it emulated real life, and you could see how she was struggling with that. So yeah, I think that was a really good take on what she was doing. However, the fact that like the head of the authority, the head of the police, would bring in this girl who basically works in a gallery to solve a murder, I was like, what? He did it.
Yeah.
Like immediately, I was like, that's the guy right there. Yep. That's your guy.
Ooh, interesting. Because
I called it straight away.
I did not do that.
I did.
I know that I'm not very good at calling plot twists in general, though. If a plot twist really gets me that easy, then I don't like the book because I'm not very smart when it comes to figuring out a plot. But I didn't see that coming. So it's really interesting because I remember thinking like, why are we doing this? Why is this the decision that's been made? Other than for the one thing I did think was there's no way that Bryce isn't actually the chosen one. Talk about Ruin. I was like, there's no way. There's no
that was straight up obvious. I'm sorry. That was just like,
I mean, how many times can we say she has no power? She's a blip on the power scale without her turning out to be massively powerful. I was like, So
I thought that was the reason that we get this connection of the reason Micah chooses to have her involved, on top of the fact that she was clearly closely intertwined with the first murders. Like,
yeah, but no one actually knows her. Sorry, no one actually knows her lineage.
True. So then that didn't. I don't know. I thought the first time around that like Micah and the king I thought that they had to be working together, like trying to do something. But like, then we eventually find out, obviously, that the king doesn't know that she has all this power either. So like, I don't know. That was like all the twists and turns I was making in my own head, trying to make it make sense because I did not see it coming.
My favorite part was when the king actually called Bryce's mum, and she was just like, "Yeah, dickhead. I knew that she was going to be all powerful, and you're an asshole for not seeing it sooner. You know."
Yeah.
But I was like, "Yes, mum. Yes, mum."
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I loved Ember and Randall. I actually just the most recent scene that I've read, because again, haven't finished my reread of this yet, was the scene where they FaceTime or video call with them the first time they Hunt. That whole scene is so fun. And then Hunt like bringing up the fact that she has the scar on her leg that she hasn't gotten checked out that hurts her. I was like, that was a bold move. Like, can you imagine your partner, your significant other, like bringing up something you're keeping hidden from your own parents? Even though you need it to be, you need it, but like,
don't tend to hide things from my parents, so I'm like, yeah, whatever.
No. Oh God, no! My mum's terrifying. Why would I hide things from her?
Exactly. It's 25 million times worse if they find out on their own. It's like,
oh yeah.
It's like, I did the thing, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, dang. I was like,
To be fair, I called out the whole, like, you know, the injury still got some kind of venom or some kind of tracker or something in her with that. I mean, like I said, it was very predictable, but she did give quite a few hooks for it to be different. So even though it was predictable, it felt like it wasn't blatantly obvious. Because like, it could have gone several different ways.
Right. There were enough red herrings in there to be like, am I right?
I shouldn't question myself because I'm like, usually right.
Favorite scenes?
Well, I've already said my favorite scene. The other one was the looking in the linen closet and thinking he was finding a dildo, but it wasn't. It was the unicorn.
I mean, that was hilarious.
Yeah. So those two scenes, I was just like, yeah, okay.
For me, my favorite was when Lahaba like makes her first and final stand, and I was like, oh God, buckets of tears, buckets, just loads. I was like, no, and then I was like, maybe she no, she doesn't come back. Like I spent the whole book going, well, maybe they come back, maybe he'll come back, you know, maybe she. No, everyone's just dead. Okay,
everybody's dead, Dave.
Everybody's dead, Dave.
I don't know. I don't know what my I think my favorite scene is when Bryce is going down into her power, and then Danica says, "Light it up." I cried.
Yeah.
We read the first time they say "light it up," which is like text messages. Danica texts it to her. I'm like crying. I'm like, cool, great. Love it. I love that this is happening to me.
I love the fact that you two are just so emotional readers. I'm just like, yeah, okay.
I'm ridiculous.
So bad. Like, I knew that this book was going to hurt me because I knew what happened at the start. Yeah, okay, so that's where I wanted to go next. That's why I brought up my favorite scene, because I knew it would transition into this. Did you see that part coming, where they kill everyone that you
No. Obviously not. No.
Because... Are we talking about like Danica and the pack? Because absolutely not. Because I was like, wait, but she put all that time into like making us feel things for them, and now, I mean, at that point, I put the book down for a little bit and walked away because I was like, oh no, she did not.
See, I couldn't do that because I was doing live reading sprints, and it was the last book on my Touching My Shelf TBR. I was just like, God dang it. But no, even in my notes, I was like, you know, oh well, her and I was like,
what do you mean? No,
but
Kristen asked if I read the blurb. I never read blurbs for authors, especially that I already know I love, because I don't want to know anything. I will read like an auto-by author like Sarah J Maas. I'm never going to read a blurb. I'm just going to know.
no, I'm actually interested to see what the blurb says now.
Oh, it makes it really obvious. It really does. When I read it after I'd read the book, and I was like, oh, I should have seen it coming.
Yeah.
Should have seen it coming.
Okay. And then the demon murdered her closest friend. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we did not read the blurb, no. I like to go into books, I mean, because my brain automatically tries to figure out the story anyway, which is probably why I stopped reading thrillers, because I'm just like, okay, they did it. It's just the way that my brain is wired, and it's really, really annoying to be the one that actually just figures it out. Chris can't watch any police procedural show with me because I'll just sit there and went, they did it.
Oh, I'm rewatching Lines right now.
I am as well. We started the rewatch today.
Oh, it's so good. It's so bad, but it's so good.
I try not to read the blurb on things because it just kind of ruins it for me.
Yeah, it did kill me. It was unfortunate. I thought that Connor was the love interest, and then he died. 2 pages in. Are you kidding me? And for Caiti, Sarah J Maas does this thing a lot where she gives you a love interest for her main character. She tends to write a female main character. She'll give you a love interest and make you fall in love with their pairing, and then somehow figure out how to flop it so that you don't like that person anymore and you like the second or the third love interest throughout the series. She'll do it to you, and it's.
Are you reading Akatar right now?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And I've not got very far in, and I'm like, okay, well, it's one of these two. It's one of these two.
Which two?
No, I haven't got names yet. God, I've only read about the one who takes her to the house, the one who like takes her because she killed his mate, and Lucian, because I remember his name because that's a werewolf name, and werewolves are hot. So
Tamlin.
I was like, thank you, Tamlin. So I'm like, probably one of those two, and then I'm like, Kate, you're only like 60 pages in, give it time, like could be anyone. You saw what she did. They're probably both gonna get poisoned and die in the next 3 pages, so
me and Cassie are like, do not do anything in the facial expressions.
Oh yeah. So it was interesting to read this one because knowing Sarah J Maas does tend to give you a love interest and then say, ha, never mind.
She didn't do that in Throne of Glass, though.
Right, she does it later in the series. So I'm curious to see if she does that in this series. That would be really sad. I would not like that.
Well, the thing, in my notes, I was like writing it down. I was like, I was getting really invested in the Connor relationship. And then the whole, like, you know, when she's in the club and she's texting and then she says, like, you know, she said, no, yeah, but when she was like, I just hooked up with so-and-so in the bathroom, don't tell Connor, I was like, bitch! I hated that bit. I was like, you know.
I loved it. I loved it. Okay, so this is interesting because Caiti brought up the fact that you don't like Bryce because of how self-absorbed she is, which she's totally self-absorbed. But I see a lot of her in me in the time I needed to grow up. And so she's obviously dealing with all this trauma too, like later in the book after all her friends are dead. Which that part.
I mean, she does have excuses for her behavior.
Yeah.
I will give her that. But the one thing that scene where she was like texting and like, don't tell Connor, I was like, this is why I'm glad that social media and texting weren't a thing when I was a teenager. That's it. Like, I'm so glad that in my formative years that was not a thing because, oh God, she got judged when they got leaked, those messages. And I'm like, oh, I know that feeling, honey. I know it. Like, I think the reason that I dislike her so much is because she reminds me so much of me, except she's skinny. Bitch.
Shut up. She's you. I think she's quite a lot of people when they're in their late teens, early 20s.
Yeah, absolutely. I was self-absorbed, and I was, only interested in what was going on in my life and how desperately terrible everything was that was happening to me. So yeah.
As if we're actually saying I was, not like we still are or anything.
No, but at least I'm not hooking up with people in club bathrooms anymore,
Yeah. Well, to be fair, we can't go outside.
I never. That's very true. We can't go to clubs, and I'm happily settled down now. So shush.
Yeah, I really think that part is done. I guess not that I liked it and all of the repercussions of it, right? But it felt so like raw that she like knows that like Connor is her one, and she's like a little bit scared of it. So she's like, okay, if I'm gonna give this the chance that it's going to have, and like she basically already knows that like again he's the one. So like she has this one night party stand, the one night stand, what? The one night party life, one night stand, all of the things, and then it just turns into this like terrible night. And then on top of that, dealing with the repercussions later of having everything leaked and all of the things people say about her. And on top of the fact that she's already half-faced, and then there's all of that, like, just piled on top. Like, it's...
Excuse you, traffic.
Yeah. What? Ew, they're terrible. It was so good to me. Like, it was so well done. And I feel like that's something that Sarah J Maas hasn't been able to touch yet, because obviously in her previous series, they're all high fantasy, where you're in like a whole different realm that doesn't act the way that our society acts and stuff like that. So you don't have the technology and the social media stuff that she really had a chance in this book to like have a statement on. I loved what she had to say in her writing about.
She does have the ability to write flawed characters, which is good. I think by far this is her best representation of a flawed character, and it being more natural. As in the case of like, she's just, self-absorbed 20-year-old. That kind of thing. And then obviously with the PTSD on top of that, it felt more natural the way that she wrote the way that she came across. Because in other book by her, yes, her characters are flawed, but it's always a reactional type thing. So
I will say that, having said that, she's not a great writer. She wrote the tragedy of that situation really well, because it was, high party night, and you had all this like mega like excitement and building of all these things, and then everything was just cut dead. And I think because she built it up that she was going to go home and she was going to get into this relationship and all those things, and it just shows that things can just get cut off like that. And it was that bit was really well done. I really liked that.
Yeah, and all of the guilt that like surrounds it, because it wasn't her fault. Like nothing in the situation was Bryce's fault, but a lot of shame within herself and a lot of guilt is placed on her because she happened to be having a party night the same night that her best friend and all of her friends were having a terrible night. Like, we're dying.
Yeah. Well, and then there's survivor's guilt on top of that, just in general.
That too. Like, yeah. Exactly. It's just so that part, so well done. I love it.
Yeah, I was still shocked by it. I think that's the only thing that shocked me in the book. I did not expect. I expected a shoot, a drop, obviously, but I didn't expect it to happen that fucking quickly. I was just like, oh shit.
Yeah, and how that, like, I mean, how, again, in my opinion, speaking to her writing and how good it is, it's really crazy to me that in 62 pages, she managed to get you to fall in love with all of these friendships and all of this soon to be love interest and all of this enough to tear you down in 62 pages. Like, that's all it took to kill everyone and have you feel a lot of feelings. That's crazy.
Yeah, I feel like she put a lot into those 62 pages, and I think that it's clear how much she worked on that because it's very polished and it's perfect. I just think that the rest of the book, it didn't need to be as long as it was. It didn't need to be 800 pages. She needs to learn to edit.
Gotcha.
Says me, who hasn't even. I'm like, I want to write. I'm going to be a writer. Haven't even written a book yet, and I'm already critiquing her writing. Like, she just needs to edit. Do you know what I mean?
It's a lot easier to critique other people than yourself, sweetie. We all know this. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
And as a reader, like, you still get to have your opinion on the thing that you've taken.
Yeah. I think it was a really good story. It could have been 500 pages and you would still have got the same story.
Yeah, 200 pages shorter would have been.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. I think part of the reason that I don't see that too is just because I also tend to be fine with just like exposition that's unimportant. Like, all of the little like quirky moments that you could shave off, and they're repetitive too, because like if you have 1 or 2 of the same scene, let alone 3 or 4 of the same scene, like, do you really need all those? No, you could still have all of the importance chunked down, right? But I just like that stuff. Like, I just love being in it.
I get you, because it's like, if it's like a Rick Riordan book for me, or a Cassandra Clare book, or it's like, I'm happy to stay in that world and with those characters as long as possible. So I do get it. Just wanting to be in that world and just living it with them and all the rest of it. But
the critique is still understandable. So what was your guys's least favorite, or like most painful or worst scene that we haven't talked about yet?
I did make notes. It might have been the first 60 pages, actually. It might have been the first 60 pages, because like, I was like, oh God, it needed to happen the way that it happened, because the way she was writing it, I was like, I don't particularly like the main character. And even though I didn't particularly like her after it happened, like, at least it gave her a little bit of a sympathetic edge, which I wouldn't have had for her had she just continued to be this quite bright, like, party girl, Yeah, I'm going to say the first 60 pages were rough for me. Like, if we hadn't have been coming together to do this tonight, I don't know that I would have kept reading it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Good to know.
I'm glad I did. But at that point, I think I wrote somewhere, I can't find my notes for it, but I was like angry. I was mad, because I was like, she's just this thing. Like, she doesn't care how people see her. Like, she doesn't care if these guys are taking advantage of her. Like, I was just like, oh, this is like 50 Shades but worse. Like,
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah,
and then
I couldn't have coped being with such a vapid character for like 800 pages.
Yeah.
I'd have just been like, no.
Yeah.
And I think it was because I knew the book was so long, and I was like, oh God, I can't do this for like another 740 pages. Please, God, no. And then everybody died, and I was like, oh shit, okay. Cool.
When I initially read it, I anticipated, obviously not the deaths, and I anticipated that it was going to be a multiple point of view, because I was like, there's no way that we're going to be in this party girl's head this entire time. Like, there's that's the end. That's the whole, we're not going to get this whole story from this perspective. So I think I anticipated we would switch between Danica, even Connor, all of these characters that then died. Obviously, that's not where it went. But that's, I think, where I thought it might go, when you're initially introduced to this, like, what are you doing here? Like, such a shitty person in the start, especially.
To be honest, sorry, if it wasn't for Danica in the beginning, if it wasn't for their friendship in the beginning, because I wanted to know more, I wanted more Danica than Bryce. So if it wasn't for
disappointing. Oh, that's a blow for you.
yeah. But
I wanted so much Danica. I'm so mad.
But it's a case of, it's like I wanted to get Danica's perspective. I wanted to see Danica's POV on things, and that's the reason why I kept reading. And then obviously, no.
Yeah, I also wanted Danica's perspective, and my favorite part from the start was the fact that we have this very strong female friendship from the very, very beginning. Mm-hmm. There's no cutthroat or jealousy or anything between the two of them. That's like made very clear very quickly. And I'm like, great. And then she dies. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean? How dare you? I'm pissed.
I was pissed off at like two things. I was pissed off that what's her face just completely disappeared. Fury, yeah. I was annoyed that she just completely disappeared. I mean, when she came back and she was like, "Yeah, I was trying to solve this mystery in my downtime because I'm an assassin," that would have made a little bit more sense to me. But she was just like, "Nah, I just fuck this shit, I'm out." So it was
I think that's very true to life, though. You do have. Sometimes when really tragic things like that happen, you just can't be around those people anymore. So like, I kind of like that because I was like, oh, she's just gone. She's just checked out. Okay, cool. Yeah. But she came back when when Bryce really needed her. There she was, like keeping an eye out this whole time. Like,
yeah, I was pissed off that Micah's death was not as visceral and as I wanted.
Can I just say how much satisfaction I got out of the fact that she hoovered him up? I was like, you fucking go, girl. You hoover him up. That's amazing.
Yeah, I
we'll just take that dirty thing out.
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
But then just didn't take the bag out, didn't throw him away, just left him in the vacuum. Like, all right, cool.
Yeah, I didn't like that Fury disappeared either, and I am really curious to see if in the rest of the series she'll be relevant, because like you have this really badass, interesting character here. Are you gonna do anything with her? Like, give us something with it. Will she be relevant in something? And then Micah, I wanted more of his death. Like, I wanted it to be a little bit more painful, but then again, like at the same time, you have the whole, like, I'm overall a better person than you are. So
yeah, no. I mean, Sadriel's death was definitely more like than Micah's was. I was like, oh yes, I enjoyed that death so much more.
I have two scenes that I really dislike. The first of which, okay, it's like a great scene, but it hurts me, is when Hunt comes back to the apartment after he did the assassin run that he had to do. And he's like all depressed and she cleans him. It hurts my heart watching that, like reading that scene. I'm just like, ow, like, how dare you write this? I don't want to be here. But it was really well done. And then there's another scene that I'm trying to think of that like popped into my head and then ran back out. I don't remember what.
I get that all the time. It just goes out one ear and then does a couple of laps around the room and eventually throws itself back in when...
Oh, got it.
There you go.
Then they go to so Hunt and Bryce go to the wolf compound and they talk to Sabine saying that they think that she's the one that killed Danica, and we find out that she's not the killer. But the whole scene with Ethan, I don't like it. I'm upset by that. It makes me so sad because, again, like, you get it because everyone is dealing with the grief of all of their friends and brother and best friend and whatever dying. But the fact that he so easily believes that Bryce, who he's known for however long he's known, is a terrible person. Like, the such an easy, like, belief that, okay, we're gonna just slut shame her and, like, say fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it just, ow, I hate it. And I hate that he is the one that told her you're not welcome here at their funeral, essentially. The sibling or whatever.
Yeah.
That whole part of the plot is really upsetting to me. I don't like it.
Well, can't remember, were her messages leaked before the funeral or after?
I don't remember. I think it was before, because if I remember correctly, there's this scene where she is remembering all of the different audio mails from him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the first one is him just, like, sobbing, saying, "Are they really dead?"
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I remember that now, yeah.
And then it goes into the ones of, like, what the fuck were you doing having
hooking up with, yeah.
Yeah. You're not welcome here. So all of that happened right before. So it just makes me sad because although I can understand why that would be the initial response, obviously, like, protecting not only his brother in general, but protecting his brother who's dead. Like, I get it. But at the same time, it's just like, come together, grieve together. Like, you're both going through something. Lean on each other. What are you doing?
Yeah, but then you've got to remember that he is a part of this werewolf. It's like, obviously not part of his pack anymore, but it's part of that whole, like, family, I guess.
Yeah.
And they've always seen Bryce one way.
Yeah.
And then obviously in his grief he'll have thousands of people, werewolves in his ear saying, like, see, we knew she wasn't good enough, we knew that she was like that, we tried to tell you, blah blah blah. So I get it.
I know, I get it. I just hate it.
We understand that there's bad people in the world, they just don't like it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the ending. I think that can be our last thing, unless you guys have something else to talk about. But again, haven't read the ending this second time around, so help me.
I do have one thing to say. Okay. Obviously, Cassie and I read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which came up as second place to this book in the category. This book won. I know which one I favour.
Yeah, which one I favor?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're so different. They're so different.
Obviously, but I think The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue should have won over this one, in my opinion.
I have real questions about who's voting for these books, honestly. Like,
it's people's choice on Goodreads.
Yeah,
it's not people's choice.
It's not.
Is it? Well, they say it is, but I really doubt it.
It's dubbed that way, but yeah,
it's a hand-picked people's choice, in my opinion.
Oh, well, yeah, because they, like, Goodreads does create the group, the list first. So already you have somebody, and you don't. I mean, you get to nominate books, but, like, out of a short list that is made by and curated by Goodreads. Oh, this is an interesting question. Okay, I like this question. Kirsten, you're on it. I love this. Do you think Crescent City was in the right category? Should it have been in Murder Mystery? Yes. I do think it should have been in Murder Mystery. This is not a fantasy book.
It is.
I mean, it is. But only because of the cast that make it up.
The plot is a murder mystery. But then again, like, isn't every fantasy also a different category too? Like, if you think about Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, that's a heist book. Like
Six of Crows, heist book. So yeah, it was in the right category, but the thing is with categories, it's like they're a way of pigeonholing things, but there is such a wide range of things that can be in that genre type thing.
Yeah. And it's so, when you get down into just a general fantasy, it also depends on what your preference is within fantasy. Because like, I personally don't love trial fantasies like A Court of Thorns and Roses and Throne of Glass are both trial stories. I don't like trials in fantasy. I think they're dumb. But I like Sarah J Maas enough to keep reading, and then you get into a different plot later. I don't like trials, though. I read The Fortuna Sworn by KJ Sutton. It was like a 3. But I want to read the rest of it because I just don't like trials.
Oh, hey, Chris. Fantasy is a setting, not a genre.
Yeah, so then there's a thought on that too.
Yeah, well, Chris is my other.
I mean, I think Chris has got that one. He's not.
I didn't. Sorry.
He's in the living room.
Okay, Crescent City or The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I don't know.
You know which book's a better book. You know it.
Okay, so here's the thing. I can't pick. No. I think this book is a beautiful setup for a series. And I like series better than standalone fantasy. So if you're looking at the fantasy genre of it, I do go with Crescent City because I also do like a good setup, and I like a series more. And I also like Sarah J Maas's writing in a series format better than I like V.E. Schwab's writing in a series format.
I like V.E. Schwab in thing. So
if I was comparing the writing styles, I still can't pick. They're so different.
All right, Caiti, you have to read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue and settle it once and for all.
She's gonna pick Addie LaRue. Are you kidding me?
just gonna say that me and Cassie have got so 2 for 2 now. We've gone completely opposite on what we think of the book. So
but I loved Addie LaRue. It was another 5-star read for me. So like, this is why Paula's mean, because these are 2 5-star reads being pitted against each other. I can't pick. What do you mean?
Well, no, because in all the other best books that we've discussed, we have actually stated, like, do we think it should have won that category? So I'm not being out of turn here.
Yeah. You're true. That's okay. So that's interesting. Which one should have won the category? Addie LaRue. But which one is a better book, in my opinion, is not the same answer.
True, I guess.
Because I think when I'm looking at the category of like Goodreads 2020, I'm not looking at it only from my own personal enjoyment. I'm looking at the writing style and all of those other things that sometimes I ignore when it just comes to straight up my own personal enjoyment. When it comes to my own personal enjoyment, I think I enjoy this book better. But I also really loved Addie LaRue. But like, if I had to balance one of which one I actually enjoyed the most, I think it's Crescent City.
Katie keeps freezing when she's blinking. It looks like she's falling asleep. Literally, you just keep freezing while you're blinking. It's like, okay.
No, I think it's because I had to put my phone on charge because it was not liking it, and I might have put my charger in upside down, which messes everything up. Bear with me.
Okay.
No, I didn't. All right.
Yeah. Which one should have?
You keep going away when I messed with my charger. Which one should have won? Well, obviously I've only read one of them, so I can't really.
Well, you need to read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. It's a must read. It is a beautiful book. So it is one that, I mean, I've recommended several books to you now, and you've read them and loved them. So this is one that I'm definitely recommending, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And from the last 2 books that we've all read together,
All right.
The first, I think you will really like Addie LaRue.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the ending, before we go. Help me, first of all, what happens in it, because I did read the ending a year ago, but I have not read the ending yet recently.
I read the ending like a week, 2 weeks ago, and I've forgotten it. So talk amongst yourselves.
I finished the book a couple of weeks ago, but I just listened to the ending like a couple of days ago, and it was all a bit okay. So everything just got like tidied up, and one thing I will say about the book as a whole is that when there's a change in direction for one of the characters, it's just an instant switch. Like they just, and it just happens, and there's no real rhyme or reason, and we don't get to see why. So yeah, the ending for me was a little bit rushed, I think.
It's hilarious that the ending was rushed when it's this chunky. Sorry.
Wait, I want to know who you're referring to in the switch, because fuzzy on that.
I know, but the ending just seemed to just.
Oh no.
See, I'm just reading the epilogue right now, and it's just the white cat with eyes like blue opals.
I'm not quite sure. 1 second, let me turn my internet.
It's like, you're not a true cat, don't you? Jessica Brodka clicked her tongue. You don't need to lick yourself. Adius, Prince of the Chasm, lifted his head. Who says I don't enjoy licking myself? Well,
I'm so excited to read the rest of this book today. Yeah, I remember really liking the ending, but I do agree it did feel rushed, and I feel like this is a Sarah J Maas general issue. She tends to do this where she gives us all of this ambiance and stuff, which I really love, and then when you actually get to the moment, like the climax, it's like really fast, and then all of a sudden it's over, and I'm like, wait, go back, I feel like I missed something here. So I feel like that is a writing style of hers that is weird.
Just from like the epilogue, I kind of get I don't know if I'm going to say this right, but like Good Omens vibes, kind of things ingrained in the story but detached enough and using people as like chess pieces, kind of thing. I get that kind of vibe from it. So, and I don't know how well that's gonna, well, even if that is going to play into the whole series, and if it does, how is it going to be done?
Yeah. And like,
sorry, Cassie, I don't know what was going on with my connection, but you were saying which characters were like just change direction. Definitely Hunt did it. I can't remember why, but I do remember thinking, oh, okay, oh, he has no like fiber there at all. Like he was literally thinking one thing, someone said something to him, and off he went in a different direction, and I was like, really? That's all it took? Like, and it happened a few times, like where it was just like, I don't know, years of feeling one way or another were suddenly undone with like half a conversation, not even half a conversation, and I was like, I
can understand that, especially.
But again, and I think that was because it was already so long. She kind of had to cut bits down. And I feel like some bits were longer when they could have been shorter, and some bits were really short, and they should have had a bit more time spent on them.
Like a more balanced of versus character development. Some people were more developed or less developed than others.
Yeah. And like Hunt Hunt's betrayal, I was just like, huh. Because we'd seen things from his point of view, and at no point is that ever a thing that we see until Bryce sees it. And I was like, when did he have to? I've been inside his head like 2 minutes ago. I was inside his head and he wasn't thinking about this. When did he make these decisions?
Yeah, but the thing is, he doesn't make the decisions. He follows orders. And he was ordered to do those things. So it's just a case of, like, you know, and the way of him dealing with that, I guess, is to have those walls up of like, well, this is me being ordered to do something.
He wasn't ordered to go and get the synth and like...
Yeah, well,
that was him acting. No, that was him. That was him and
I'm
the
like,
other two whose names escaped me.
Saying as you're saying it, and I'm like, oh shit, I have so much to read.
It was Micah that told him to do it.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, Micah was with him.
What? When? What?
On the boat when they go to get the synth.
Tell me more.
No, Micah knew about it because the Viper Queen had told him about it. That was Hunt acting all by himself. Like he decided that. He decided with Justinian and the girl whose name escapes me. Victoria.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. They
I'm misremembering it then.
Yeah, they decided because he found out about the synth and he found out about the antidote and he was like, we could use this. Got them into a little plot. And I'm like, when did he get them into a little plot? Like, he's been thinking about this a week. He's been thinking about this a week and I've been inside his head. And nowhere did I see this come in. Like, that was the only thing that she didn't foreshadow at all. And I feel like because so much of the story was from his perspective, that we should have seen that.
And it felt like everything in the book was foreshadowed everywhere.
Yeah, but I didn't feel like that was. Like, that was one genuine moment, apart from when the pack died, that I was like, oh. Oh. And again, I had to put the book down and walk away from it because I was like, oh, didn't like it.
I'm excited. I feel like I don't really have a lot to say about the ending because it has been a year since I've read the ending. But I just remember I didn't like the betrayal that Hunt does. And I remember being really surprised about Victoria's involvement. Because I remember being really shocked at like the way they punish her, being like in the orb thing that goes down in the ocean. She's just like stuck there. I'm like, that's some fucked up punishment. Jesus.
Because, crucifying someone is just so much more pleasant.
Oh, no. Terrible too, but just like, wow, that's crazy. And then I also remember the scene where, like, they're all running. Like, Bryce is running through the city trying to get to, like, the closure thing because all the demons have come through or whatever. And isn't it Sabine that's like refusing to call the wolves and then finally the wolves come anyways? That whole scene is so stressful to me. I hate that type of plot where you feel like
I did get sweaty while reading that. I was just like, what are you doing, you bitch? I mean, I know you're a freaking cow, but come on.
Yeah, that whole part is just so nerve-wracking. Like, I remember my whole shoulders being up. Like, you have this sense because it's Sarah J Maas, two, because Bryce is obviously the character you're reading from. You have the sense that like she's gonna make it somehow. And Ethan too. Like, I was so nervous that something bad was gonna happen to somebody. Like, I can't handle it. I cannot do this.
Yeah, so I got to the bit where they're at the whatever it is, the conference. And they just got there, the summit, thank you. Mm-hmm. And they just got there, and I was like, all right, I'll just read to the end of this chapter before I go to sleep. And then it all went crazy. And I stayed up until 5 o'clock in the morning reading this book. And I was like, what happened?
Been that soldier though.
Yeah, because like the whole way through I've been like, I could take it or leave it. I was picking it up, I was putting it down, I was reading a little bit, and then all of a sudden I was like, I cannot put this book down. Like, it just, the pace picked up, and I was like, oh, here we go. Like, and I just had to stay with it then till the end. So the ending was really strong, I think. Like, apart from after the action, everything had happened, and then it's like, oh, they go home, and oh, this just falls nicely into place for them, and oh, this just falls nicely into place, and I was like, oh, really? Okay. And it made me worry a bit that in sequels we might not see as much of them. And that's a question I had for you, is like, when she does a series, are they mostly all done from the same character's perspective, or are we never going to see them again, and then I'm going to have to cry about the end of my relationship with Hunt? Because
her two series are different answers for that question. In Throne of Glass, the points of view get wider and wider, and you get more and more points of view as the series goes on. So she adds, book 1 is mostly 2 perspectives. Book 2 is like 3 or 4. Book 3 opens up and it's like 5 or 6. And then, she just continues to add, because in that series, the core group also slowly gets wider. And like, you also, that series goes from being small pieces, because the first book is really focused on Celaena Sardathian and her story. And then as the series goes on, it gets wider and wider because it becomes more and more political. I would venture to guess that this series is going to do similar, because this book is very focused on Bryce and her story, and Hunt.
But then the things that they've kind of hinted at coming in the wider world is like, okay, so that's probably
I would venture to guess we're going to get more points of view, which is why I'm so curious. She's brought this, like, Fury in particular is such a fascinating character that she's given us but didn't really do a lot with. So I'm like, are we going to finally get a point of view from Fury? Because I feel like that would be really cool. I feel like we'll get that whole other world, the part that's all at war already and all that. So I think that that's what she'll do with this, is my opinion.
I have thoughts on that, because obviously when we're in the Throne of Glass, Celaena Sardathian is an assassin, and it might be a case of she might shy away from it because she's already written a kick-ass assassin lady, and
he has an assassin. You have Hunt. Although at the end of this book things have changed, is he still going to be an assassin?
But he's free now,
in his own freedom, because until now he's never been an assassin of his own free will.
Anyone thinking of like Fat Thor vibes?
Don't ruin him for me. Come on.
There's nothing wrong with Fat Thor.
Oh my god.
He's comfy.
He's comfy. There's nothing wrong with a little snuggle.
Okay, I'm pulling up the winners so that we can pick some options. Did we have any things that we haven't touched on for Crescent City while I'm pulling this up?
I felt like it could have been, if it wasn't for the epilogue, I think it could have been a standalone. I think the epilogue kind of makes it more drawn out. Yeah. I mean, there's so many characters with questions. Like, I want to know about Jessica. I want to know what her deal is and why she renounced her house and joined the Underking. Like, that's a big thing. Yeah. Like, there's all these questions that if it was a standalone book, I would be so unsatisfied with it.
I think it ends nicely enough that if Sarah J Maas had decided, or if the publishing house had decided, or whatever, to not move forward with a series, I think it ends in as little of a cliffhanger as possible, so that, like, even though there is a lot that you could do with this world, the general plot does have an ending, so you're not left with like, well, who's the killer or something, and everyone is put to bed as far as that goes. But I also agree that
there is definite,
it was
like,
one.
But it was more of a case of, it felt like things could have been, to me, it felt like things could have been streamlined a whole lot more, and it could have just been a single book.
Which, again, murder mystery. Like, it didn't need to be a huge world the way that she created it. And it didn't need all of that background and history of this war going on in some other area, and like all of that didn't need to be there for the base murder mystery that exists in the story.
Also, the point of in the Throne of Glass series, we get the first book, and that's a trial in the Throne of Glass, and then we move away. We hella move away from the trial,
which is I don't like it.
But do you think that's what's going to happen in this? Do you think that it's just going to be, right, we've got the murder mystery thing, we've got introduction to characters, and now we're just going to open this whole thing up, and it's just going to be everybody fighting against this big bad?
Yeah. She created a political story. She has set up the politics of this fantastical world, introduced you with a standalone murder mystery, and then said, ha ha ha, you have so many characters, let me do more. And I feel like A Court of Thorns and Roses is the same way. A Court of Thorns and Roses is a romance with a villain that at the end introduces the big villain that is way more big in the general territory of the world.
I'm not saying it because she's not ready. I'm not saying that.
I know. That's the way that the book is set up, where it's really a romance to begin with, and then it moves on.
Yeah, it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling.
Oh yeah, I'd already got that. Like within the first 30 seconds, I was like, oh, okay, so this has got Beauty and the Beast vibes all over it. There just needs to be a
how it was marketed.
Covered up rose, wilt in its petals, and we're there. You know, even the fact that like all the I've gone completely off, but they're all like enchanted to be wearing masks and stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, this is Beauty and the Beast vibe. They're all under an enchantment. She's gonna fix it somehow.
It's like it was marketed like that. Like it was.
Yeah, but Caiti's not a part of the booktube.
Yeah.
World, so it's like she doesn't. She's a reader, but she's not a part of the booktubes. So.
Okay.
I mean, I'm gonna say that 3 of these now under my belt says I kind of am. I just don't watch anything because I'm so busy and also quite lazy.
Don't do it. It's fine. You don't need it. It'll change your reading style.
Read them watch.
Okay, so we have some books to choose from. So we have our mystery thriller, The Guest List, our science fiction, The Sleep in a Sea of Stars, humor, Strange Planet, nonfiction was Stamped, Racism, Anti-Racism, and You. Memoir and autobiography was A Promised Land. History and biography is Caste, Origins of Discontents. You have science and technology, A Life on Our Planet. Graphic novels is Heartstopper. Poetry is called Dearly. Debut novel, Such a Fun Age. Young adult fiction, Clap When You Land. And young adult fantasy, Queen of Nothing. And then children's Anti-Racist Baby. I know that those titles probably don't mean a whole lot, but at least in the type, the genre, do we feel anything? Those in the comments, let us know too. What I'm going to do is we're going to pick 3 choices today, and then I'm going to put the options up in a poll, and people who aren't watching right now will also be able to vote. But for May, what do we feel like? The live show for the May book, whatever it is, will be the 3rd weekend of May, which is May 15th at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So it's standard every 3rd weekend, every 3rd Saturday of the month is always when the Goodreads 2020 Best Books Club live shows will be. I really want to read The Guest List. I would like that to be one of the choices.
Oh, same, but only because I already have it, because it was on Francisco. So
I'm going to put The Guest List on there. So that's a mystery thriller. So then should we put, I feel like we always put one of the nonfictions on. What if we don't do any nonfictions this time? Because I think one of the times we do a poll should be all nonfiction.
Yeah.
I think we should do that. Maybe the next time. Or this time, I guess, although.
Scares you.
Although we picked The Guest List, which is not.
Well, I keep getting drawn to The Vanishing Half. I really want to read that.
Oh, I forgot to say that one because I have already read it. But okay, let's do that one. That's a historical fiction. And then let's put a young adult on here. So would you rather read
Clap When You Land,
Such a Fun Age, or Queen of Nothing?
Well, Queen of Nothing is the third in a trilogy.
True.
So
I feel like maybe what we should do for that one is, do we want to like pick a month for that in the last third or quarter of the year and like announce that now? And then that way everyone has until then to read the series if they haven't yet.
Mm-hmm. I think that would be a better idea. I mean, I'm one of those people that has to read from the first book to the third book anyway.
I'll be starting at book 3. Good Lord.
No.
Well, no, even if I've previously read the first two, and it's been I've got to read the entire series when the next book comes out, because it's like minimum a year usually for the book to come out, and it's like I read so much that my brain just forgets so many things.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, how many times have we done this where we've been like, you know, what's the name of the person that
the main
who's the main character? You know.
Yeah. So why don't we say Queen of Nothing to me feels very October. Does that sound like something you're comfortable with saying yes to?
Yeah.
Okay, so for sure we'll read Queen of Nothing and do a live show basically on the whole series because it'll be spoilers for the first 2 books in October. It's almost May now, so May. What comes after May? June, July, August, September, October. So you have 6 months to read the trilogy. So with that out of the way, we have the guest list, Vanishing Half, and then either Such a Fun Age or Clap When You Land. Such a Fun Age is, let me pull these up, actually.
I think, well, I would say Such a Fun Age because it's a debut novel. I mean, I've read other works by Elizabeth I can't pronounce the last name, Acevedo. I don't know. I mean, I've been reading. I mean, I think I've read other stuff by Brit Bennett. I don't know.
She has a lot of books out,
and
The Vanishing Half is very good.
I don't think I've read anything by Lucy Foley, but you know, it's a mystery thriller, so
yeah. Such a Fun Age is about the story. It's the story of a young Black woman who is wrongly accused of kidnapping while babysitting a white child and the events that follow the incident. So it's another thriller, mystery, probably a thriller. So let's do that one then. The guest list, The Vanishing Half, or Such a Fun Age.
I'm sorry, but Clap When You Land is a novel in verse.
Yes, Elizabeth Acevedo is originally a poet. Yeah. And then she wrote her first novel.
See, I haven't physically read her other ones. I've got them on Scribd, so I've...
The Poet X.
Yes. She did the Poet X. So I've not. I didn't actually. I don't know if her other books are written in verse. So I've only listened to them on audio.
I think. Well, With the Fire on High was her second book, and that one was not written completely in verse, but it still has a very poetic cadence to it.
Definitely does. Yeah,
even though it's technically a novel, not written in verse.
So, what do you think, Katie, as not having a clue?
Oh God.
Oh no, the guest list.
Like
the guest list, obviously, because I've got it. But out of those two,
well, we choose 3 and then.
I mean the two that we. So it's
just we're saying the Clap When You Land or Such a Fun Age. So Such a Fun Age is talking about a young Black woman accused of kidnapping while babysitting a white child, and then Clap When You Land is about 2 girls, one who lives in New York, I believe, and one who lives in somewhere else, maybe the Dominican Republic, I'm not sure. And it turns out that they both have the same dad, and they didn't know that until the dad dies in a plane crash visiting the other.
Okay. I'm going to go with Such a Fun Age. Like, based on that, very brief synopsis there. Like, yeah.
I mean, we're going to get round to reading that eventually, but just not yet, okay?
Sounds good. So those will be the 3 books for May. I'll post the 2 different polls on Twitter and on my YouTube channel, but please only vote in one because I always add up all the numbers on both places. And then I'll announce that in the next week or so. And then we'll live show about it on the 15th at 2:00 Pacific Standard Time. If you're watching this and you want to join the live part, please DM me somewhere, Twitter, Instagram, doesn't matter what. DM me or comment down below on this too and let me know, and then we can coordinate that because I'm more than happy to have other guests in the live shows than just the 3 of us. That's totally fine. So let me know. And I think that's going to be it. Thanks for joining. Paula's linked down below. Her YouTube channel is there. Caiti, I know I asked this last time. Do you want to plug anything? No. Okay.
No, I'm just chill to be here. Like, it's a good time.
All right. Thanks for joining. See you guys on the 15th. Bye.
Bye.